What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Tonight, I spoke with a friend who asked if I could speak about more technical aspects about these machines. So, starting tonight, I'm going to talk about some units and relays that I haven't talked about previously. Tonight's topic is going to be multiplay relays. My main experience with this is on Bally bingos. However, I will be speaking about flipper games as well. And the general idea is if you wanted to change the denomination that the machine accepted from the factory, how would you make that fair to the player? Let's say you didn't want to do a one-to-one conversion, but instead wanted to use a more common coin mechanism that was perhaps less expensive to purchase, would jam less frequently, or would just plain put more money in your pocket. Well, what you would do is modify the machine and trick it into putting extra replays up on the register. Now, I've worked on machines where this has been done a number of different ways, and what inspired me to speak about this topic in particular was a person on Pinside who is working on a roller derby, and all of a sudden the machine started putting extra replays on the register. Well, the most likely reason for this to happen is an aftermarket modification that the operator put in to take a quarter and give you 5 replays. The first replay is played off, and then 4 are placed on the register. As I say, this was a fairly common modification. 2 of my machines have come with that modification installed, and probably a half dozen more that I've worked on have had one installed. But I've seen several different methods, even in machines that I haven't worked on, but have had my head in, and I just wanted to give a little time to talk about those. So the most common way to do this is with an extra relay. This relay would be activated when a coin hits the coin switch, and it will pass through voltage to the start relay. It will also pass through voltage to a switch on specific cams, which will bump a certain number of times per revolution of the timing cams. Finding the modification is sometimes difficult. Some operators did a very good job of adding in extra relays and wiring, and use cloth wiring, and would even note schematics and manuals. However, this was the exception. Most of the time, added relays, such as a multiplay relay, were just screwed to the bottom of the cabinet or to the side, wherever the operator found space. And then several that I've worked on have had lamp cord or other wiring that was just lying around and not actually purpose-built for this. So, in some instances, the operators would even label the relays, particularly where they use cloth wiring, and did a very nice job of adding it in. But more often, it's just an extra coil sitting there with a few extra switches. In the 1970s, Bally realized that operators started wanting different denominations, and pretty much all along they would ship you kits to accept either a single dime or a single quarter, but it would only put a single replay up on the register. Well, they started shipping kits that would allow you to put 5 replays for a quarter. And the way they did this was with an added relay, the same way that the operators were hacking the games to do it. This relay was called the multiplay relay. And what it does is it activates a start relay for the first coin, and then we'll put 4 on the replay register. Of course, the trick with that timing cam's switch is it'll only do it if both the timing cams are turning and the multiplay relay is engaged. So in a flipper game, what would you do? Well, many of the flipper games offered adjustment jacks for different coin denominations, and it would allow you to choose the left or right side shoot, or if the game was a single shoot game, it would allow you to choose the number of plays per coin dropped. So in this way, the machine didn't care at all about the type of coin that went through it. All it cared about was how many replays to put up on the replay counter, or the credit wheel. So in flipper games, it was fairly simple. But bingos, it's a little more difficult. If it's a machine where replays are the bread and butter, you want to make sure that it's adding exactly 5 credits, no more, no less. So if you're like me, you probably want your machines to operate at 1 coin per credit. That's the way they came from the factory, and that's kind of just the way I prefer to play them. It makes you think about each coin as you put it in. Do I really need to do this or not? And so disabling these multiplay relays is fairly simple. On games that actually shipped with a multiplay relay from Bally, it's as simple as removing one of the wires to the coin switch on the coin door and soldering a different one in its place. Bally shipped the games with 2 different wires, one which would jump to the multiplay relay and the other which just jumped straight to the start relay. Now if you've got a game that's been hacked and another relay added that works in the same fashion as the multiplay relay, then you can either disable the relay hold switch, which will do the same thing, basically just open it up, and that'll keep it from working, or you can cut the relay out and repair the coin switch if it's needed. On a flipper game, you typically don't have this. As I say, you've got a Jones plug style adjustment. Well, you just change it to whatever you want. It's a lot more straightforward. But one of the things that I love about bingos is the interplay of all these complex systems and how they all work precisely together in order to make these super fun games function. It's just fascinating. And the fact that they designed these things and that operators would find ways around limitations in the mechanical design is also fascinating. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS-1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, also at Bingo Podcast, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.